the word go, the Democratic candidate was off to tour the country and to establish a record of speech-making energy and endurance never matched by any presidential candidate. At a great meeting in Topeka, Kansas, many thousands of farmers greeted his appearance and listened intently to his message of the New Deal for farmers.
Governor Franklin Roosevelt of New York was the leading candidate. And they had a few primaries in those days, but the real nomination process was at the convention. Many of the states that would not go for Franklin Roosevelt nominated their favorite sons, a person from that state who the state delegation has elected to lead them to the national convention and kind of stand as a symbolic candidate for president. And what that does is that favorite son has those votes as chips in the big game at the convention. John S. Garner was the favorite son of Texas. That gave him a lot of votes. The second reason he was a player is because of William Randolph Hearst.
A powerful American newspaper magnate, Hearst had become acquainted with Garner when he served 2 terms in Congress. As Hearst expanded his publishing empire and grew disenchanted with President Herbert Hoover, he began to see Cactus Jack Garner as a true prairie populist, a real conservative Democrat alternative to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Hearst thinks Garner will be his man in Washington, D.C.
William Randolph Hearst was a strong isolationist and appreciated Garner because Garner had been suspect about the need for the United States to enter the First World War and had isolationist views himself.
Without Garner looking for it, he's chosen by Hearst. On New Year's Day in 1932, Hearst makes a national announcement heralding Garner as the next president of the United States and instantly throws his massive publishing empire's muscle behind a Garner for President campaign.
There was this kind of this journalistic love affair with crusty old Jack Garner, who represented and embodied true American values as a Texan.
There's a lot of effort to prevail on William Randolph Hearst to back down on his support of Garner. Everybody claims credit for calling Hearst that night. They've had 3 ballots. Roosevelt's ahead, but he's not got enough votes. He starts to lose votes, then he'll lose momentum. And then the question is, who will be the nominee? And the smart money was Newton Baker, who was a former Secretary of War and an internationalist. And Hearst, who was an isolationist, really disliked the idea of an internationalist. Even Louis B. Mayer, who is head of MGM Studios, whose studio has Marion Davis, who's Hearst's girlfriend, on contract, so therefore has a good in with Hearst, calls up and says, you know, if you don't support Roosevelt, you're going to get Newton Baker.
Hearst finally gives up his drive to put Garner in the White House, but the Texas delegation to the Democratic Convention still wants Cactus Jack for president.
Roosevelt is desperate. He's got to get those extra votes to get the 2/3. His people in Chicago are essentially offering the vice presidency to anybody who would give them the votes. Later that day, Garner calls Sam Rayburn, and he says, I'm not a candidate. Rayburn says, well, you know, this Texas delegation is not going to give up easily. The only way to satisfy them is for you to be vice president on the ticket. And the Roosevelt people have offered this to you. And Garner says, you know, all right, anything. I want to live long enough to see one more Democrat elected president.
The motion is that the rules of this convention be suspended and that John N. Garner be nominated for vice president. Our candidate, John Garner, had released the Texas delegation. At a caucus held, Texas delegation determined to cast Texas 46 votes for the splendid Franklin D. Roosevelt.
The South in those days was supposed to be solidly Democratic, but there was some wobbling, and there was considerable concern among Southern Democrats, most of whom were quite conservative, that Roosevelt was too liberal. So with Jack Garner on the ticket, Roosevelt could hope to assuage the concerns of those Southern conservatives.
Mr. Speaker, it is very delightful to welcome you here to Hyde Park and to have the chance to talk with my teammate about our plans for the next few months. I'm very glad to introduce you to the Hudson River country, and I hope we shall see you here very often.
Governor Roosevelt, I came here to get instructions from my boss. I belong to an organized democracy, which is for the benefit of this country. And I believe in party organization, and I come here to get my instructions. The people of the United States are going to elect you president, and I'm going to be vice president. And it's for the benefit of the United States that we're going to be elected.
Thanks ever so much. It's a pretty good team.
Roosevelt and Garner score an overwhelming victory in 1932, cementing the alliance between two powerful Democrats.